Good evening, everybody, and we're going to get started with tonight's meeting. Thank you for being here. Welcome to the Agoura Hills City Council meeting. Please silence, I need to do this myself, please silence all cell phones and electronics so that they don't go off during the meeting. Thank you. If you wish to speak or submit a written comment, please complete a comment card, which are in the lobby, for each item and submit to the city clerk. And Kimberly, will you raise your hand? That's our city clerk. And prior to the public comment portion of the item. I'm going to call this meeting to order. And I'm going to start with our land acknowledgement. The City of Agoura Hills acknowledges that we occupy land originally and still inhabited and cared for by the Chumash Nation. Descendants of Chumash still remain, and we honor and pay our respects to their elders and various groups that make up the past, present, and emerging as they continue their stewardship of our lands and waters. We have a responsibility and commitment to elevate the stories, culture, and community of the original inhabitants of the city of Agoura Hills. And we are grateful to have the opportunity to live and work on these ancestral lands. I'm now going to defer to Cub Scout Pack 227 to do the color guard.
Will the audience please rise? Color guard, advance. Hand salute. Those not in uniform, please put your right hand over your heart. Please say with me the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Color guard, post the colors. Color guard, salute. 2. Color guard, dismissed. The audience may be seated.
Thank you so much, Cub Scout Pack 227. It's such a pleasure when you come to lead us in the flag salute, so thank you. We are now going to move on to roll call. Madam Clerk, will you take a roll call?
Good evening. Councilmember Anstead?
Here.
Councilmember Lopez?
Here.
Councilmember Wolf?
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Sylvester?
Here.
Mayor Buckley Weber?
Here.
Mayor Buckley Weber, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. No closed session was held. I need a maker of a motion and a second to approve tonight's agenda.
I'll make a motion to move to adopt tonight's agenda. Deborah Klein Lopez.
Mayor Pro Tem Sylvester seconds.
Thank you very much, and we'll defer to our Madam Clerk for a roll call.
Councilmember Anstead?
Aye.
Councilmember Lopez?
Aye.
Councilmember Wolf?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Sylvester?
Aye.
Mayor Buckley Weber?
Aye.
Mayor Buckley Weber, you have approval 5-0.
Thank you so much. I'm now moving on to presentations, and I'm going to start with Business of the Month. Deanna Ambruster, will you please meet me up here? Come on up. In the United States, April celebrates the great outdoors with National Wildlife Week, Earth Day, National Garden Month, and Keep America Beautiful Month. I'm very honored to be giving the April Business of the Month Award to the Santa Monica Mountains Fund, also known as SAMO Fund. The SAMO Fund was established in 1988 to support education and the protection of resources in the Santa Monica Mountains National Recreation Area. And as you all know, we are the gateway to the Santa Monica Mountains. This national recreation is the largest urban national recreation area in the country. The Santa Monica Mountains National Recreation Area offers over 500 miles of trails for hiking, biking, and horseback riding. These trails provide public access to hills, canyons, and streams throughout the mountains. SAMO Fund works to help maintain, improve, and restore these beautiful and historical routes through the mountains. Here in Agoura Hills, the SAMO Fund was successful in completing a community project, creating a trail bridge at Chesbro Palo Camado Canyon. This project is the first ever 1.1 mile ADA trail in the recreation area, and we're very proud of that. It is a landmark for their commitment to inclusivity and accessibility by opening the outdoors to a wider audience who currently lack safe trail access. The SAMO Fund also plays a role in the Wallace-Annenberg Wildlife Crossing. SAMO Fund has contributed funding for National Park Service wildlife research for the past 2 decades, which was integral to supporting and recognizing the need for building the crossing. Additionally, SAMO Fund is one of several partners establishing a native plant nursery to grow appropriate flora that will be placed atop the crossing. Recently, SAMO Fund partnered with the City of Agoura Hills to plant native plants along Chesbro Road that are both horse-friendly and creek-sensitive. In its ongoing effort to educate on the history of the Santa Monica Mountains, SAMO Fund created a wonderful documentary on the Ballard family that we discussed at our City Council meeting celebrating Black History Month. I want to thank Deanna Armbruster and her amazing team for the dedication they have for habitat restoration, hiking trail improvements, educational programs, and wildlife conservation in the Santa Monica Mountains. It's an honor to present you with this certificate for Business of the Month for April 2024. Thank you so much for your service to our community. Here you go. Would you like to say a few words?
I just want to acknowledge everyone on the City of Agoura Hills Council. I'm grateful for this opportunity, for this acknowledgement, this honor, and everyone who is engaged here in our local community. We are truly a community project. We cannot do any of this without our local friends and supporters, and it is a privilege to be able to work in this capacity. So thank you very much.
The next presentation is for Education and Sharing Day, and I'd like to call up Rabbi Brisky to join me. Thank you, Rabbi. The basis for the continuity of any society is education. And in the great state of California, the education of our youth is a priority. In order to achieve its highest goals, education must not only impart knowledge, but also teach the students how to live, forming and strengthening their moral character to make a better life for themselves as individuals and for society as a whole. A global spiritual leader, the Rabbi Menachem Schneerson of righteous memory, stressed that a moral and ethical education empowers every individual to develop their full potential in making the world a better place. Such an education can nurture the unity of diverse peoples through encouraging increased acts of goodness and kindness, imbued with the awareness that even a single positive act of an individual can change the world and usher in an era of global peace. April 19, 2024 will mark 122 years since the Rebbe's birth, and this year begins the celebrations of the 75th anniversary of his leadership of the Chabad Lubavitch movement. Chabad, quote, Chabad, end quote, is an acronym of 3 Hebrew words for wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. The name Lubavitch comes from the city which served as the movement's headquarters for over a century and means city of love. Of all the ethical values which inform our civilization, none is more important than love. Love of wisdom, love of our fellow man and woman, and love of our Creator.
These values, rooted in the 7 Noahide laws, have guided the Chabad-Lubavitch movement throughout its history and are the essence of education at its best. And we should be certain to pass on this precious heritage to all young Americans. Education and Sharing Day is observed each year on the Rebbe's birthday in recognition of his outstanding and lasting contributions toward the improvement of education, morality, and acts of charity around the world. A day to pause and reflect on our responsibility to ensure our youth have the foundation necessary to lead lives rich in purpose and fulfillment through service and good works. Rabbi Brisky, on behalf of the entire City Council, it is with great pleasure that I present this proclamation to you, proclaiming April 19, 2024 as Education and Sharing Day in the City of Agoura Hills, and a call upon everyone to work together to create a better, brighter, and more promising future for all of us. And it's very appropriate year after year. Thank you very much. Rabbi, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, members of the City Council, Mayor Pro Tem, City staff. Thank you all very much. Tremendous honor bestowed upon a great leader. And this began with President Jimmy Carter in April 1978 was the first time that the President of the United States recognized the Rebbe's birthday and wanted to honor the Rebbe by declaring it Education Day USA. Every April there since 1978, every President of the United States from both parties have declared the Rebbe's birthday as Education Day USA. And in 1994, President Bill Clinton bestowed upon the Rebbe the highest honor, the Congressional Gold Medal of Honor, to recognize this great leader. I want to just share a short story. I know you have a long agenda tonight, so it'll be quite short. You may remember, those of you that follow politics, in 1975, there was a United States ambassador to the United Nations by the name of Daniel Patrick Moynihan. He delivered one of the most memorable addresses in the United Nations, speaking out against the Zionism equals racism platform of the United Nations. A few years later, Patrick Moynihan ran for the United States Senate of representing the great state of New York, and he won that seat. As the United States Senator representing New York, he asked and received an audience with the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And they met for over an hour at the Rebbe's office. He sought the Rebbe's guidance, the Rebbe's advice, and the Rebbe's blessings. At the end of the meeting, the Rebbe says to Senator Moynihan, "And now can I ask you for a favor?" The senator expected this because in most of his meetings, everyone had something to ask. There's a need in the community. There's a program that's needed, something for Israel, perhaps. He was expecting this, and he said, "Of course, Rebbe, what can I do for you?" And he was shocked by the response. Because the Rebbe said, as Senator of New York, you represent all the citizens of New York. There's a community in New York called Chinatown. In Chinatown, there are Chinese immigrants that are there. They're good citizens, but they're quite reserved. They don't speak out loud. And because of that, they're overlooked when it comes to many government programs. But as the senator, you should find out the needs of this community and appoint someone from your staff to look into what they need over there. Senator Moynihan says he was in a state of shock. He was expecting what is needed in Brooklyn, what is needed in Crown Heights, what my Hasidim need, what my centers throughout the country need, what my centers internationally need, what Israel needs. That's what he was expecting. But to hear about Chinatown, a place he doubted very much the Rebbe ever visited, he doubted that there were many Hasidim that lived in Chinatown. He doubted whether the people of Chinatown ever heard of Rabbi Schneerson. And yet this man cared about people in the state of New York that others didn't pay much attention to. And he says that from that moment on, he knew this was a man he would seek advice from, he would seek guidance from, he would seek blessings from, because this was a man that cared about all. And so thank you so much to the mayor, to the members of the city council for recognizing the day of his birthday. It's a day for all of us to focus more on kindness, to focus more on sharing and caring about others. And so indeed that we become one people, one united people. Thank you again so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We're now going to move on to intergovernmental special purpose committee and departmental reports. And I'm going to start with National Heritage Month. As you know, the city of Agoura Hills this year has been recognizing different national heritages. We recognize Black History Month, Women's History Month, and so now we're going to recognize Earth Month. As we continue to celebrate our National Heritage Months, this month, the City of Agoura Hills celebrates Earth Month. April is the month where we raise environmental awareness and create consciousness around issues that affect our community, like the environment. This year, the city will be celebrating Earth Day, which falls on April 22nd each year, with 2 events. The first will be Arbor Day. The city will be hosting children from Mariposa Elementary School at Sumac Park to participate in planting a tree in the park. For the second event, the city is gearing up for a robust community service days on Saturday, May 4th. This event hosts hundreds of volunteers who come out to clean up the parks, paint fences, pick up trash, clean the creeks, and take part in a host of other projects geared towards city beautification. If you're interested in joining Community Service Days, please visit the city's website at agourahillscity.org to sign up. Thank you very much. And now we will move on to the Agoura Hills Library Quarterly Update, and I'm going to defer to Library Manager Nina Hull. Welcome, Nina.
Like that? Good?
You do whatever makes you most comfortable, and
Then
we'll let you know if we can't hear you.
Okay. All right, Madam Mayor, City Manager Hamburger, City Council members, and city staff. I'm here for the quarterly report of your Agoura Hills Library, LA County. And one of the first things I want to let you know is that on the homepage for lacountylibrary.org is the strategic plan for the library system for 2024 through 2028. And so that's available to all to review, and as well as every customer that has a library card did receive that in email. So I get to brag right now because today I had something happen in the library. We had at one moment at 4 o'clock this afternoon 55 people in the library, all studying, all using the study rooms, all children, all teens working in groups. We see a lot of the teens doing that. And I have not seen that since the pandemic. So it was a very happy moment for this library manager. I also had other good news. I did talk to Lauren Gill today. Lauren Gill's with the National Wildlife Federation, and so the completion date for setting up the fireplace room for the display of the Annenberg Bridge, Wallace to Annenberg Bridge, is June 1st. So they are going to be implementing that in that room. So, and I want to give a thank you to Luis Ayala, of your staff, and my regional administrator, Gladstone Buckner, for coordinating the removal of that large 6-foot by 6-foot bookcase, because we had to have it out in order to get the display set up, one of the displays. So thank you so much, Louis. And then also Diane Hopp. Amazingly, Diane Hopp in the bookseller found someone who took that bookcase. It did not have to be destroyed. So it was a great working team. Ongoing programming-wise, as I've told you before, we have 6 adult book clubs that are for adults, 4 of which we have twice in one day, 1 virtual, 1 in person, for the convenience of the customer. So in addition to that, we have 2 other library or book clubs besides that just meet once. We also have a teen book club that meets in person, and for the 8 to 12-year-olds, a book club that also meets. And then my favorite, All Abilities Book Club, which is special need adults with their coaches. Best part of my week, and that's every week. The highlights for this next quarter coming up are the scavenger hunt for adults on April 13th, and you all have the flyers for all of these. So that will take place in the library. So, and these adults are a little bit competitive, so it's kind of fun to watch. I know where it is. No, you don't. We don't help them. So we're also having Paul Stein back as a string quartet this time, not a trio. He will be here in your community room on May 4th. With the other musicians, Alex Russell on violin, Aaron Altman on viola, and David Mergen on cello. So doing Barber's Adagio and Borodin's Nocturne. So that always brings out a really large crowd for that performance. And then we're bringing back Mindfulness in June 22nd, because that performer came in in January and had a very good turnout. And then a little fun thing, which I will not be attending because I haven't read the books, a Bridgerton afternoon tea will take place on May 11th from Saturday, that's a Saturday, in your community room. So they'll be serving the little sandwiches and the little things and the little teacups. We have teacups for it. And then they'll be doing a craft. I suggested feather boas, but my librarian did not want to do that. I don't know why. So I have headquarters assigned me to co-host with the author a virtual sustainability book club. Eve Schwab will be discussing her Year of No Garbage on April 24th at 2 o'clock virtually. Anyone can attend. And so I find her very entertaining to watch on YouTube. You can see her talking about this book. But the thing I'm looking forward to the most is how she got her 2 teenagers to go through a full year with no garbage. And so it was fascinating. And this book is, although it's informative and enjoyable, she is emphasizing the problem with plastics. That's what it all comes down to. So, and then we're introducing back again, and we haven't had them since the pandemic, music for babies. So we'll start once a month in May and then again in June. It is probably the most popular program we had. We used to have it every Friday, and 3-year-olds and under, and they would bang things, and the other gal would play the banjo. So it was just wonderful. So we're glad to start that again. Summer Discovery starts in all the LA County libraries on June 1st and goes through August 15th. So my teen and children's librarian are actively working on all the programs we'll have this summer. The other thing is, and I'm glad you mentioned Heritage Month, as you all know, obviously LA County Library is very involved with heritage. So we have every year we have programs, the 5 programs, African American and Black History Month in February, Women's History Month in March, Asian Pacific American Heritage in May, Pride Month in June, Hispanic Heritage September 15th through October 15th, and Native American Heritage. We will have either displays, which we always do, or as well as performers, whether it's for children or teens or whatever. In addition to that, we also put up displays on our own. So right now in the library, we have Armenian History Month, we have Arab American History Month, and in the months that come up, the Jewish Heritage Month. We add those as further displays. And I did have a business member in this community that came up to me this week and said, you know, I'm Armenian. He says, I really appreciate you recognizing my country. So, and I said to him, because I know him, I said, well, that's what we do. That is what we do. We also, in addition to that, we also have Cesar Chavez Day for children and Dia de los Niños, also for children. So, and I want to give one more shout out to Amy Jones Brink, because I think she's doing an amazing job setting up your heritage information there, so, and it coordinates right with us. So, any questions? Okay.
Any questions? No, but thank you. That's all good news.
That's what I said. I'm here for good news only.
Yes. Thank you very much, Ms. Hall. Okay, so now we're going to move to Conejo Valley Tourism Improvement District update. Director of Operations, Josh Gray. Welcome, Mr. Gray.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Josh Gray. I'm Director of Government Affairs and Tourism for the Greater Conejo Valley Chamber of Commerce and Director of Operations for the Tourism Improvement District. Starting briefly on the tourism front, we recently released our 2023 annual report, and I just wanted to share a couple of key statistics with you all. Our district outperformed the average occupancy rate for Ventura County Coast, LA County, and the state of California. Our district outperformed the average daily rate and RevPAR for Ventura County Coast. 9.9 million impressions on Facebook. That's up 39% from 2022. We hosted 11 influencer familiarization trips, resulting in just under 82,000 engagements on social media. And we had an average email open rate of 42%, and that is well above industry standard. Q1 for the tourism district has been busy with 5 influencers already visiting, highlighting foodie, hiking, horseback riding, family fun destinations and events in the region on TikTok, Instagram, and a great blog promoting the Conejo Valley. We also have 2 more influencers booked this month, one focused on wedding-related spaces, and another participating in the Great Race and promoting trails in the area. I also want to note for you all that the TID conducts an independent audit once every 2 years, and we'll be doing one this year on last year's finances. We appreciate this important partnership to support our hotel partners and local businesses through increased tourism, and I can answer any questions on that. I can also jump to other events going on in the area. Any questions on the tourism?
Does anybody
front?
have any questions so far? Okay, why don't you just jump into the events?
Perfect. I just wanted to highlight real quickly for you all, the Chamber held its Spotlight Breakfast Series at the Sheraton Agoura Hills with civic leaders, and I just want to thank Mayor Buckley Weber for participating in our panel. Our next legislative roundtable is on April 23rd at 8 a.m., focused on new workplace violence prevention legislation, specifically SB 553. And then I also want to highlight on May 17th, we're hosting our recognition gala at Walnut Grove in Moore Park, and you can see the recently announced recipients on our website. And lastly, I just want to say keep an eye out as the Chamber will start announcing our 40 under 40 winners very soon, and you may see some familiar names and faces. Other than that, I'm open to any questions, but thank you all for your time.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions of Josh? Okay, well, thank you for your report tonight.
Thank
It was
you.
very informative. Okay, we're now going to move on to the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy Advisory Committee update, and I've tried to narrow it down. We had a fascinating meeting on Monday night, so I picked the issues that I think you'd most like to hear about. Staff and Citizen for Los Angeles Wildlife have just 21 days to reach 1 million threshold to secure the iconic Laurel Canyon Boulevard and Lookout Mountain Avenue property, now known as Laurel Spring. The MRCA's option expires April 20th, so if anybody wants to donate, this is a beautiful piece of property that we're trying to preserve. At least 2 federal member requests directing funding to the MRCA are contained in legislation just signed by President Biden. Representative Adam Schiff secured $1.2 million towards the Mountain Oaks acquisition in the Glendale portion of the Verdugo Mountains. Representative Brad Sherman secured approximately $900,000 for the Latigo Solstice Canyon Connector acquisition project. The board authorized a comment letter to the California Fish and Game Commission on the notice of final consideration of petition to list the Mojave Desert tortoise as an endangered species and the Southern California steelhead as an endangered species. And lastly, we had a presentation by the City of Los Angeles on the Sepulveda Basin Vision Plan project. If you don't know about it, it's fascinating. It's been in the works for years, but it's really getting much closer. And the Sepulveda Basin is where you all know it's basically Burbank, Woodley, Sepulveda Dam, and it's going to be Southern California's Central Park. So they've got some great plans. It's all on, the internet to take a look at it, but that's what it's called, the Sepulveda Basin Vision Plan, and it's really going to be fabulous. So that's that. So now we will move on to, are there any reports from staff? Nobody? Okay, any reports from City Council? Seeing none, we will move on to public comments. This section is reserved for persons wishing to speak on items not listed on the agenda that are under the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. If you have something to distribute to the City Council, please do not approach the dais. Hand your item to the City Clerk, and she will distribute to us on your behalf. Public testimony is limited to 3 minutes per speaker, and a speaker's time may not be transferred to another speaker. Persons addressing the City Council shall not engage in disorderly conduct that disrupts or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the meeting. I will now defer to the City Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor Buckley Weber. We did receive 1 written public comment on or before 4 p.m. deadline today. It was forwarded to the City Council prior to the meeting. It will be part of the permanent record, and that was from Carolyn Tricino, representing Poison Free Agoura. We do have 2 speakers, Sherry Ferber, followed by Carolyn Tricino.
Thank you. Welcome, Ms. Ferber.
Opportunity.
As you know, you've been here before. You have 3 minutes to speak, and it ends when the red light comes on.
And surprisingly, this will be one that I get under 3 minutes and probably the least amount of talking you ever hear me do.
Okay, and just
Okay.
bring the mic closer to you so that we can all hear you.
This issue of concern came to my attention on Nextdoor when I read a distressed post about a non-target animal being stuck in a glue trap and the days of care necessary to save its life. As the discussion about this continued, most comments were strongly in favor of a total ban inspired by Ojai recently banning glue traps. We are here tonight to bring awareness and ask the City of Agoura Hills to consider an ordinance against the sale of this ineffective method and join the environmentally responsible, humane decision of banning them. I want to express my gratitude to Tamara, whose comment I'll be reading in a moment, she's here in the audience, for sharing her story, and Carolyn for her passionate devotion to educating our community, and to the council for listening to us and hopefully considering such a ban. So I read the article that was on Nextdoor and saw Tamara's comment, Sherry, how can we help? Last week I found a bird trapped in one of those. It took me hours to finally free it. I kept him in until back to normal, and then he flew away. What can we do to help? And I said, Tamara, I'm on it. I'm going to get in touch with Carolyn. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ms. Tracino? You've been here before. You know the colored lights, green, yellow, red.
I do.
And just bring the mic to whatever position is, comfortable
Okay.
for you.
All right. Mayor Buckley Weber, City Council, City staff, today we are asking for an agenda item to create an ordinance in the City of Agoura Hills banning glue traps. You've seen the documentation and the photos. Many are from our neighbors at the California Wildlife Center. We want Agoura Hills to follow in the steps of West Hollywood and Ojai to ban these cruel traps. For so many years, we've focused on rodent poisons and providing education on using alternatives to poisons. We still have that focus. At the same time, there's a non-poisonous trap out there that people are using and pest control professionals, and it's one of the most inhumane and cruel forms of rodent control. It is cruel to non-target species that fall victim to these traps. It is not okay to have glue traps available for purchase and use in the City of Agoura Hills. I'm ashamed that I haven't acted on it sooner. You see the bird in front of you that was brought to the California Wildlife Center. Its finder ripped the female towhee's feet from her body while trying to detach it from a glue trap. It is heartbreaking to see the videos of animals trapped in glue, screaming, starving, and biting off their limbs to try to free themselves. Let's end this cruelty by banning glue traps. Please add a glue trap ban as an agenda item at the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you for coming tonight, all three of you. We appreciate it. Okay, is that all? Yes. Thank you. We will now move on to the council consent calendar. This section is reserved for persons wishing to speak on items on the consent calendar. I will now defer to the city clerk.
Thank you. We did not receive any written public comments, nor do we have any speaker cards.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the city council on the consent calendar, or does anybody want to pull something off of the consent calendar? Seeing none, I will now call for a motion and a second to adopt the consent calendar.
Mayor Pro Tem Sylvester moves to adopt the consent calendar.
City Councilman Chris Anstead seconds.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, will you take a roll call vote?
Councilmember Anstead?
Aye.
Councilmember Lopez?
Aye.
Councilmember Wolf?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Sylvester?
Aye.
Mayor Buckley Weber?
Aye.
Mayor Buckley Weber, you have approval 5-0.
Thank you very much. We're now moving on to a public hearing, and I'm going to, it's to conduct a public hearing to consider the adoption of resolution number 24-2060, and it's a business license revocation. I will now open the public hearing to consider the revocation of business license number 006982 for New Era Performance and Tuning, LLC, for violations of the Agoura Hills Municipal Code and other applicable laws and regulations. Madam Clerk, has the business owner been duly noticed of this hearing?
Yes, city staff notified the business owner of tonight's public hearing by postcard on March 27th, 2024, and by United States Postal Service certified mail on March 29th, 2024, and it was signed for on April 1st, 2024.
Thank you. I just want to confirm, I'm seeing people in the room. Is the business owner here? Thank you. City staff and the city prosecutor have the burden of proof by the preponderance of the evidence. This means the evidence demonstrates that the proposition is more likely true than not true. Please note that the formal rules of evidence and procedure do not apply to this hearing. However, as mayor and in consultation with the city attorney, we will make rulings on objections and evidence. Irrelevant and/or unduly repetitious evidence shall be excluded. The City Council reserves the right to allow evidence and consider the weight of the evidence during deliberations. There are no official time limits on staff's or the business owner's presentation, but we ask that the testimony not be redundant. Could all legal counsel for city staff, the business owner, and the City Council state their appearances for the record? Is there legal counsel for anybody here?
My name is Eric Marcus, and I'm the city prosecutor. I'll be representing staff this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Marcus. Anybody else? Okay.
Yeah.
My name is Candace Lee. I am the city attorney, and I'll be serving as legal counsel to the city council in their capacity as fact finder and decision maker this evening. Thank you.
Okay, so, you know, did the business owner and legal counsel, have you reached any stipulations as to facts and/or evidence?
I have had no communication with the business owner up until the point of this hearing.
Okay, thank you. So we will just move forward then. Ms. Lee?
Yes. So I just wanted to note for the record that any exhibits submitted by staff's counsel will be identified by sequential letters A, B, and C, and any exhibits submitted by the business owner will be identified by sequential numbers 1, 2, and 3. All identified and relevant exhibits will be deemed admitted into evidence absent a sustained objection. I also want to note that the City Council should disregard the resolution that was included in the agenda packet. The resolution was included as a matter of habit. The Council should listen to and consider the evidence presented during the public hearing and make its decision and base its findings solely on the evidence presented in the record this evening. I'd also like to remind the Council to ensure that they ask all their questions prior to deliberation to ensure that any information and evidence you rely upon is part of the official record. If you ask any questions during deliberation, we'll have to reopen the public hearing, which may further prolong the process. We can then prepare a new resolution per Council's direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Does any council member have any ex parte communications to disclose? I would only disclose that I drove by the business to check out the location. I was a little confused, and I did that today, but I did not discuss it with anyone. This is the time for the city staff and its council to make its presentation. Mr. Marcus or staff?
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. My name is Denise Thomas. I'm the Community Development Director, and I'm also, in this capacity, the Chief Code Enforcement Officer for the City of Agoura Hills. The item that we're going to present to you this afternoon or this evening is a business license revocation presentation where we will provide you with some information for you to consider in your deliberations. I'm going to go through the background and then I'll turn it over to the prosecutor for the enforcement action, and then I'll present you with our summation, our recommendation. So the background, the site on the screen, or the image on the screen, graphically depicts where the site is located and how it sits within the city of Agoura Hills on Dorothy Drive. As you can see, it's a developed area surrounded by buildings that are also developed. The next two slides kind of gives you an overview of the actions that we have taken. Most of this information all of this information is in the staff report that was published on our website and distributed to you by the city clerk. But essentially, the purpose of this slide and this slide is to show you that since 2017, staff has been trying to work to gain voluntary compliance of the business. With that, I'm going to turn it over to the prosecutor and allow him to provide you with some information. Thank you.
Yes, you'll have an opportunity to respond after the staff and their lawyer put on their side of the case. You know, why don't you come up to the mic so that we can hear you?
In the letter that he received, I believe it was April 1st, it says that one of the options is to seek a continuance. Since he only received the actual link for the documentation today, when I called Ms. Thomas and asked her where it was, she said it was on the website, but the link he received in the email is inoperable. It would not open. So she was kind enough to send me a link to the documentation. We need time to review it, to be able to produce exhibits and evidence to rebut this information. That's why we wanted to stop before we continued on, because the letter clearly states we could seek a continuance on this matter.
And what letter are you talking about? Just
letter that was provided from the, give me just a moment here. It was a letter from Agoura Hills, notice of determinate whether business license so-and-so. It was from Ms. Thomas herself. Page.
And what's the date of that letter?
Doesn't appear to be dated. At the end where it's signed, it is signed only March of 2024. It did not have a day in the letter.
You know, I'm a little bit at a loss, and so I would ask if you could give the letter. Did you bring copies of the letter?
Did not. We just came to this right now. That's why I'm asking to continue this matter for Mr. Sparza so that he can provide this information, since he had only just now seen this and only able to open the website as we were driving over here.
Okay, why don't you hand the letter to our city clerk, and then she can. Do you have handwritten notes on it, or?
Let me see. So I've dog-eared the page.
Thank you, and if you'll just give us a minute. Why don't we do this? Why don't we take a 5-minute recess so we can take a look at the letter and make a determination from there, and then we'll get back to you.
Okay. Thank you.
We don't have a second meeting in April, just so you know, and we meet on the 2nd and 4th Wednesday of the month. So we would be I need to discuss with staff of what availability and all of that, but just so you know, it wouldn't happen in April. This is our only meeting in April.
That would be fine.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're back, and we were looking at all the different dates, and we have such a busy calendar. So I think that we decided May 8th was we would continue this to May 8th. But I want you to know that's going to be a long night, just so you know that going into it, just because we have like a full agenda already for May 8th. But we will grant your request for a continuance to May 8th.
I would recommend that the council make a motion and a second to continue this
Okay.
public hearing to May 8th.
Can I get a motion and a second to continue this public hearing to May 8th?
I will make that motion to continue to May 8th. Deborah Klein Lopez.
Thank you. Second?
City Councilman Chris Anstead will second that.
Thank you very much. And Madam Clerk, will you take a roll call? You know, you can say something about it, but we think that, I'm sorry. You know, it's not unusual that when somebody requests a continuance, especially we want to make sure that, you know, the business owner does have his day in court, and if he didn't know anything about this until recently, we feel that it's important that he have an opportunity to rebut. It's, you know, it's a revocation of a business, and we so appreciate that you've come, and we know it's inconvenient, but we do feel it's, you know, the most fair thing to do. And I hope you'll come back. And if you can't come back on May 8th, you can send in written comments, and we can go through that with you to explain exactly how to do that. And again, we really apologize, but we feel that, you know, the proposal is to revoke a business license, and that's something that we, you know, want the business owner to have an opportunity to rebut. So again, our apologies for coming out, but that's the motion. Let's see if the motion passed. We have a motion and a second, and the city clerk will take a roll call vote.
Councilmember Anstead?
Aye.
Councilmember Lopez?
Aye.
Councilmember Wolf?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Sylvester?
Aye.
Mayor Buckley Weber?
Aye.
Mayor Buckley Weber, you have approval 5-0.
Thank you. So moving on, we will see all of you, I hope, on May 8th. Let me get back to this. Okay, well, then, we're going to move on to council and staff comments. Are there any comments from staff? Nothing? Okay, thank you. Then how about, are there any comments from the city council? Nothing? Oh, Councilmember Lopez?
Just a reminder that we will be having a public community workshop, if you will, for the 101 freeway closures on Thursday, tomorrow, April 11th at 6 p.m. right here in the community room. So hoping the public will show up if they have questions about the closures, and it will be a good time to talk to those in the know directly.
Thank you very much for that. Any other comments?
Just the student art show?
Yes, that's tomorrow night as well at 5 o'clock up at the event center. And is that it? Nothing from you, Councilmember Wolf? Okay, so I have just two comments that I wanted to make. I wrote them down somewhere here. The first one is, let me grab my phone because I don't see where I wrote it down, and I will be brief. Well, one of them that I remember is that on the day of the eclipse the other day, myself and some people, we watched it up at the event center. And I just want to give a huge shout out to our city manager, Nate Hamburger, who was very involved in the building of that center. And frankly, I'm usually running in or running out or being at an event indoors, and we sat outside, and the citrus trees were in bloom, and the flowers, and the birds, and the wildlife. We saw coyotes up there, and it was just a beautiful time. So thank you to all who were involved in the building of that beautiful, beautiful center, and I hope people will take advantage of going up there and enjoying it as much as we did. And then the other thing, it kind of goes along with, there was a lot of love in the room tonight, which I loved. And I just wanted to point out that, it's sad that this came to fruition, but it's always good that the state is taking these threats seriously. But they just put out the Golden State Plan to counter anti-Semitism. And anti-Semitism is at an all-time high in California, enough so that the Jewish caucus and legislators felt like they needed to put together a plan of how to fight the anti-Semitism. It's a pretty interesting report. I would recommend that anybody who's interested go to the governor's, the state's website, and you'll be able to track it down. Again, it's called the Golden State Plan to Counter Anti-Semitism. And it's just a reminder to all of us to, take a breath and get along with our neighbors and work together. And as the rabbi said tonight, and Nina Hull said tonight, and everybody, it's all about love and getting along and trying not to have so much hate in the world, and just honor everybody. We're all the same. So thank you for that. And I have no further comments. So if there's nothing else, then I am going to call the regular meeting of the City Council for April 24th, 2024 has been canceled. The next regular City Council meeting is scheduled for 6 p.m. on Wednesday, May 8th, 2024 in the Council Chambers of the Civic Center located at 30001 Ladyface Court, Agoura Hills, California. This meeting is now adjourned.